Hey yo, Z-Man, Suicide Polo with the Ski Man. I'm back with that next installment of that Sumner series. You heard, shout out to the bro, Black Knowledge, Brooklyn legend, Bed-Stuy legend. Shout out to the whole Bed-Stuy, the whole Brooklyn, Sumner, Tompkins, Marcy, Roosevelt, Bushwick projects, Williamsburg projects, Borinquen, Lindsay. And if I forgot anything, curse me out in the comments, you heard? Z-Lord. Can't forget N.A. Rock. Can't forget that side block gang. That side block gang moving out here. You heard? Shout out to Wise. Shout out to Smoke. Now I mean, and let me know if you rep that side block gang. Everybody ain't from the projects. We got some notorious and historical blocks. Side blocks all through New York City. That whole serious weight and historical value out here. And we gonna cover those too, and that's a fact. Get at me. At those times when you was like 15, 16, and y'all was doing Project Patrol and all of that, was it ever somebody that you could honestly say you was scared of that was in Bed-Stuy?
That's a serious question, Lance. Like you said,
scared. All right, let me not say scared. Let me say among that you was uneasy around because he was just as vicious as you. And was it ever a dude on your level that you had to really be worried about?
All right, so to honestly and objectively answer that question for you, Laz, I'm gonna have to put it like this. So me particularly, I respected, other individuals that put on the way I put on, right? Because it was a lot of dudes in Brooklyn and from other areas, but we specifically speaking about Brooklyn right now with this Brooklyn history. There's a lot of dudes from Brooklyn, like I said in other stories, that were putting on. So I respected dudes that were putting on, up to the same level or around the same level that myself and my team of dudes were putting on for. But as far as fearing, nah, dude, I didn't fear nobody, homie. Nobody. I didn't fear nobody because so my thing is, right, my logic, the way I think about things is really like, I don't have to fear no man because everybody bleeds, homie. Everybody bleeds and anybody can die. So I told you before that it's all about who gets the draw first or the drop. So I told you, we practiced things in my hood. In my projects, we practiced things. We had drills. We practiced backing out the hammer first. We practiced or the draw. We practiced the draw. Homie, in my hood, we used to, on some Western type shit, count paces. We used to put our backs to each other back, walk forward, count paces like 3, 4, 5, 10 paces and spin and see who could get the blicky out first. So we do. I mean, like, Laz, it's funny to me because I'm just like, I'm getting a little bit excited just because that question like is just starting to take me there and give me flashbacks. But to answer your question, in case you have another question so we can move on, nah, I didn't fear nobody. I respected the other hitters that was putting on, and I knew who wasn't playing the same way we wasn't playing. So, I kept my eye on those type of dudes. But in terms of fear, nah, I didn't fear nobody because anybody could get it.
Why do they refer to the dude you was running around with as a serial killer? And what turned him into that?
Which dude are you referring to? Because I ran with a lot of dudes.
Nah, you
said about my right hand man?
I ran with a lot of serial killers. But it's like, yo, nah. You said, yo, in a story that we did, you like, yo, man, there's no other way to explain him. He's a serial killer. Know what I mean? And then when I was interviewing Smoke, he said the same thing. He didn't mention, I don't think he mentioned the name, but he was like, listen, man, them niggas was running around with a serial killer.
Right. So in hindsight, when I think back on that, like serial killer might be not a stretch, but the wrong choice of words. I would term my homie as more of a sociopath than a sociopath mixed with a little bit of a psycho, but not necessarily a serial killer. But the reason homie got that title is because the work he was putting in, the pain he was putting in. He put in a lot of pain, and you know, he was letting that thing go, and he was, you know, he was putting in a lot of work. So with respect to how, you know, dudes viewed each other, so in crews, right, you have like, I don't know how other dudes' crews were, but in the crews we had like almost like a hierarchy system, right? Not even necessarily a hierarchy system. I would like to just call it like a label system where everybody in your team had a particular label and you knew what they did, right? So like in my team of dudes, like you referring to Knowledge B, Charlie. Knowledge B was like the sociopath psycho a little bit, because of, in my observations, was because of his daring acts and deeds. Like the shit that he did, like you didn't necessarily and normally see people doing on the regular, even dudes that was putting on. His shit was always upping it to crazy type levels. I told you, he was the one hanging out the window, you know what I mean, out the car when we was, you know, shooting dudes. He would be the dude that be on the back of the motorcycle. He'd be like, yo, you ride the bike, I'll be on the back, I'm gonna face the other way, and I'm be shooting. This is homie. He's on the back, you know, I got stories where I'm on the dirt bike and he's on the back of the bike with me facing the opposite way, not even holding on to me. I guess he got his knees locked in. Wow, that dude, he was different, bro. And he was just shooting. Psycho. I can't think of him as no other way than a sociopath and a slight psycho, because of the shit that he used to do and the way he would do shit. He the one who put us on to firebombs. I didn't know, you know, necessarily what a firebomb is. When I say firebomb, I mean like a cocktail or a Molotov cocktail or whatever shit was. He was the first dude I actually seen outside of television, like in real life, pour gasoline out of the stolen bikes that we had, stick a rag or something in that shit, and say, yo, when we get to where we get, before we start shooting, let me light this, and then I'm gonna throw it, and it's gonna explode. Like, yo, this dude was like wild crazy with his imagination and the way he went in. So that's why, you know, he got that label. So everybody in my team had a different label. Everybody was known for doing something specific that made them stand out, you know what I mean, from I guess everybody else in the team and shit.
He was older than you?
Nah. Knowledge B was probably a year younger than me or 2 years younger than me. He was my age, but he wasn't older than me. His older brother Raleigh was the oldest. Raleigh was older than me, but Knowledge was like either my age or maybe a year or two younger than me. All right, so I told you, we graduated from hand-to-hand combat. We graduated from fighting with our hands to weapons, knives, razors, knives, bottles, bats, chains, and then eventually guns when the hammers came in. But even as a little dude, but now he was from Tompkins, so he would come through from Sumner, right? So he was always wild. I told you we started from the fighting eras and all that. So back then in the young era, you know, Knowledge was from across the street in Tompkins, his grandmother, whatever, and you know, he would sometimes come through Sumner, and some of the times that I would see him coming through Sumner, you know, he was just a regular cool dude and shit or whatever, but a couple times I seen him put on with his little knuckle check, whatever, and he had a different unorthodox style of fighting. Like when I was everything used to go with his fight. So that's kind of when I knew he was a little bit weird and different, because the way he would fight, before he would fight, he would get down on the floor, do like 5 push-ups and jump up and like I'm ready. Like I've never seen a dude do push-ups right before a fight or do all these wild different stretches and shit. No, this is all facts, bro. Wild different stretches and push-ups and then jump up and be like, yeah, I'm ready. And his fights were so wild that they would start on the ground, right, guys? But they would go up to anything. Like if you know, when they fighting and he get into the benches, they would like climb the bench and be fighting on top of the bench and get on top of the top part of the bench where your back rests at and standing on there holding the fence, socking each other. Dude, nah, it's crazy, bro. I can't describe him as anything short of fucking crazy, bro. That was, rest in peace to the homie, man. That was my guy. he was he was definitely certified. He was definitely certified.
Well, when did y'all start messing with each other?
Right. So like I said, we first met on interactions like back in the days when everybody started getting knowledge of stuff. Like, so that would have been around the age of like 9, 10, 11, depending on when dudes got knowledge of stuff. So everybody started getting the attribute, and dudes used to come around building.
Who was giving everybody knowledge of self in Sumner?
Various different people. We had dudes from Bushwick Projects and Bo Rinkin coming to Sumner, enlightening dudes. And then you had dudes from Tompkins enlightening dudes. So my earliest recollection was it was a lot of dudes from Bo Rinkin and Bushwick Projects that had that knowledge of self, and then they brought it over to Sumner, and then the dudes in Sumner got enlightened, and then it just kept continuing like that. But getting back to the question you asked, how we started fucking with each other. So back then, like I said, from 9, 10, whatever ages, we had those first encounters with each other, seeing each other in the street. So I always knew about them coming up with my team of dudes and Sumner. We was coming up. We always heard about Knowledge B in Tompkins doing his thing. He was wild, like we was wild. So you hear about the wild dudes, hear about other wild dudes, and they keep their eye on them for whatever conflict or whatever. So like I told you before, a lot of times the dudes that became cool with me rather, were dudes that we had situations with or whatever, some form of conflict. So how we first started fucking with Knowledge like heavy like that, Knowledge B used to hang with this dude named Joe, my homie Joe and shit. Shout out to the homie Joe from Bushwick Project and shit. My man Joe. And Joe was another wild dude and shit. Joe was a wild boy, little gun buster, fighter and all that. So Joe used to come through Sumner in order to get the Tompkins and shit to go see Knowledge B. So on a couple of occasions, you know what I mean, me and Joe, we had a little stare down contest and shit. Whatever, he looking all crazy, I'm looking, but we never really violated. I just let it go a lot of times because I'm like, all right, I know who he is. He going across the street to see the homie and shit. And I told you, if I didn't tell you, I'm gonna tell you now. I was close with Raleigh, Knowledge B older brother. So that was, you know what I mean, like one of the dudes that used to teach me a lot of shit. So I knew that Knowledge B was his younger brother. So me, I respected like certain protocols and shit. I would never violate unless forced to take it there. Like, so if I'm tight with Raleigh and he like a big bro to me, and I know he got a little bro that's kind of wild, but I don't fuck with him, I'm gonna make sure that myself and my team of dudes, we stay away from him so we don't ever get into any conflict and clash, and it won't be a problem where you know what I mean, if I have to put on or he have to try to put on me, and then I have a issue with his older brother, like, damn bro, you know, that's my little bro, y'all could get, you know what I mean? So avoid that type of shit. We steer clear of certain dudes. But Knowledge B used to, like I told you, we used to ride bikes and shit. Knowledge B he was a bike enthusiast, a bike fanatic, and a bike thief. So he used to come riding through Sumner on his dirt bike, on his trail bikes. So one day we was all deep in the projects and shit, and he came up. Him, I think it was him and Joe. Him and Joe, maybe, I think he had some cats from Crown Heights with him too on bikes. Now, I know they was deep. Like they was like I don't know, like 7, 8 deep, whatever. We was in the projects behind this building called 56, sitting in the lane on the benches by the big field. So at this time he came up, and now was the type of dude that he respected certain dudes. So if he heard about dudes or whatever, Knowledge B was the type of dude that would come up to you, approach you, and be like, yo, you know what I mean, I heard about you, heard you a good dude, a solid dude. My brother talks about you a lot, he likes you, I never met you like that, so let me introduce myself to you. Remember, we was kids then. We was no longer kids now. We 15, 16, we playing with hammers and all that. So he came up into the projects with the bikes, we sitting down on the lane, he pulled up on the bikes with his dudes and introduced himself like, yo, I heard about y'all dudes. I know y'all dudes get busy. No disrespect. We ain't trying to come through here and disrespect y'all. Now. We basically coming trying to fuck with y'all, whatever. And he's like, yo, anybody know how to ride a bike? And we was like, nah, I never rode a bike before. My homie H, Big H from the building, H was another bike enthusiast. He was like, nah, but we want to learn, like, you know what I mean? How you ride them shits. So that's how we actually really physically met, and our bond was established from that day when Knowledge B came into the projects with Joe and a couple dudes from Crown Heights on those motorcycles. All them shits probably was stolen, and they taught us how to ride bikes, and it was no looking back from there.
That's an extraordinary type of teenager, man. I mean, to approach dudes like that.
Listen, homie, you gotta remember, bro, we, just like I was schooled by older dudes, like my uncle, with my cheat code, other dudes had their own cheat codes and their own older dudes. His older brother, Raleigh, was an official, solid dude, bro. Not just because, so when I say dudes be official, homie, I don't just mean they official because they bust their gun and they put in work and they was these notorious criminals. Or no, bro, when I say, yeah, it encompasses that, but there's more to being an official dude in my eyesight. In my eyes, bro, an official dude is one dude who does those things that I mentioned previously, but also that's a solid dude, bro, that has respect in a community, that knows how to, you know what I mean, interact with people in the community and navigate through situations, because growing up in the projects is different. It takes a lot of different elements to navigate through that. So I was a watcher. I told you I watched everybody. So I was able to see the dudes that, to me, I said, yo, those dudes got a nice head on their shoulder. Those dudes are intelligent dudes. Let me stick around those type of dudes to get the game, because I was thirsty for knowledge and information. I was thirsty for the game. So Knowledge, older brother Raleigh, I'm quite sure they in the crib together or whatever. I'm guessing that he would school him and put him on. And Knowledge B also hung with the older dudes from his projects that, you know, that I didn't really get into yet. The Shabus and the Ramiks and Word and the K-Son, you know what I mean, and True and all the dudes. These are all older, solid dudes from our hood that used to give us game, and we watched how they personified themselves, how they carried themselves, and we emulated that, and we, you know what I mean. So now when we take that information, we get it from the older cats to our peer level age group, we implement that. So for him to come up to us and say, yo, homie, we not trying to come through, run through your projects, disrespectful, nothing. You know, we know who y'all are, so we want to introduce ourselves and figure out if we could get together and become a stronger force as a team. And like you said, that was real shit, because I think we spoke about this before, and you said, Laz, that, yeah, because riding a trail bike through somebody's hood was disrespectful. And in fact, it kind of was, because, you know, when you ride them dirt bikes, you wilding, wheelies and speeding and disrespectfully blowing past people. So yeah, it was a lot with that. So he had enough insight to say, yo, we like 3, 4, 5 deep riding these Knowledge and these dudes' hoods. Let's go show them some respect. And I don't know what was his plan, bro, but it worked. We started fucking with each other from that day forth. Yeah, that's a fact, man. Homie, like I said, man, that was my guy, man. That was my guy. He was a all the way solid dude. But great to see how all this shit is great transitioning, because now it also can transition into some of you know, how we interacted with other dudes. So like I said before in one of the episodes, I don't know when it was, but I know I told you that I was a dude that a lot of dudes liked from a lot of different areas and shit. Aside from, you know, the dudes that liked me, the dudes that didn't like me for whatever reason. They didn't like me or whatever. But the dudes that liked me because they saw, I guess, that I had a head on my shoulders. Again, I was being schooled since I was 7. So now I'm double that age, so of course I'm gonna have a nice little head on my shoulders if I was paying attention and being a studious individual. So the same way Knowledge used to do that, or he did that intro with us, is kind of like the same way, kind of like we got cool with some of the dudes, got cool with some of the Marcy dudes. Aside from us going to school together, you know what I mean, we went to school together, so dudes kind of linked up and met in schools or whatever. But outside of schools, in the hoods, you know, dudes would go to each other's hoods and and kind of like, you know, stand around for a little bit, ice grilling each other, and then the ice grills turn to, you know, the sups and all that, and then the sups turn to, yo, we going down there pulling up, or they coming up to our house pulling up, and then we going out to do random shit. So I guess so the Marcy dudes came up. The Marcy dudes came about, I guess, in our a little bit after the digging pocket era. So, you know, the pocket was, you know, it was an era where dudes was digging pockets and all that. Our shit wasn't something. We wasn't digging no pockets. We was just taking it like strong arm shit. We was all that finessing and digging pocket and try to pickpocket you or snatch your pocket and run. Now we wasn't doing that. We always rolled deep, 30, 40, 50 deep. We had dudes for certain shit. So if we going in your pocket, we knocking you out first and then going in your pocket. We ain't doing all that, you know, snatching and running shit. We had my man Weebo from 808 to 830, my son Weebo, he was the dead arm. So I told you, each dude in my team had a title, lads, and I guess as I'm speaking about them, their role and the title in the team will come to play. So Weebo was our dead arm specialist when we was in the getting money in Midtown era, running in the jewelry stores and hitting pockets and all that wild shit, or running in clothing stores and taking everything. See, we never boosted. I told you, our shit was take. We not all the finesse and all of that nice and sneaky shit. No, we was brazen takers. We coming in your establishment and whatever we want, we're taking, and you're just gonna have to stop us. So when we used to go in them clothing stores like Macy's and all that, go in there, take as much as your arms can carry, and you put it on your arms, start marching to the front door, and security be at the door and all that. We go. You go up there and dead arm the shit out of whoever's at the door. I'm talking about this. We was young too, so he had a dead arm since a young age, knocked the dude out of the front door, and we would march out the stores. So them dudes in Marcy, they might have, and Roosevelt, whatever, that was boosting and all that, doing it a little differently, and they heard about us with our strong arm tactics. Of course it makes sense if everybody's out there in Midtown doing these type of crimes to get together. So we would be out there, not necessarily we went out there together, but we would bump into other dudes, the Chicagos and the Miamis and all them dudes that was out there running the city, running the stores and boosting and hitting jewelry stores, doing the same shit we was doing. We would beat out there, see each other, and say, fuck it. We out here getting money, ain't no beef right here, out here now while we trying to get this money. Fuck it, let's get this money together. And that would just make us a stronger, more viable force to be reckoned with when we went on those missions. And all the jury that we had in my era, not my generation, not the older cats, I don't know how they got their shit, but my team of dudes, all of the jury that we had, lads, all the big cables and rings and all that shit you seen when I was in HDM and all that other shit I had in the streets, we took that. We didn't buy none of that. We took that. Brazen jewelry store heist, running up in jewelry stores, beating the shit out of everybody in the jewelry store and taking everything we want. What are you going to do against 30, 40 dudes, right? We come in your establishment 30, 40 deep. If you dumb enough to buzz us in and we get in there, if you ain't got the hammer to stop us, then we doing what we want to do. That was the mentality back then. Lads, in them early 80s, you know what I mean? When we on them type of, at that type of time, at that period of time when we was running around doing all that crazy shit. So again, met a lot of dudes, school, Eastern District and all that. So that's how we started hanging out and getting cool with the Marcy dudes. So the Marcy dudes down there in Marcy, they had a night. So Marcy kind of mimicked us in terms of how deep they was with they crew of dudes. So from my recollection of the dudes that we interacted with the most and that was deep in Marcy, the same way we was deep in Sumner would have been T-Lo, Love, Half, Shoe, Gate, Tree, Hug, Bum Bum, Trini. It was, and I guess they had their older heads. So that was the little crew of dudes that was our age, Tata and all of that we ran with. And then they had they older heads, which would have been Danny Dan, Moet, you know what I mean? Probably How About them. I'm not sure how that whole thing interacted or whatever. Man, God Supreme for Marcy. And it was crazy because it was a nice blend. So I'm a fast forward because it's a lot to try to keep all this shit in perspective. But I'm gonna just fast forward to specific incidences because we talking about like history or whatever, Brooklyn history, and some of the blends. So Knowledge B didn't get along with the dudes from Marcy. So whatever situations they had a couple of encounters, a couple of run-ins where they got into whatever they got into with Knowledge B. Then there was a couple times where I would either go down there to see them dudes, or they would come up and see us, and they would say, "Yo, boys, like this dude. I mean, we coming up here to see y'all. Something, we got to get through Tompkins." A couple times we having a couple little problems with this dude, Knowledge B. So I kind of had to get that beef. So once Knowledge became cool with us and became a part of the team, I had to explain to him because he didn't like a lot of dudes. I don't know. I told you, he was just different. He didn't like a lot of dudes, so I would always have to sit him down, explain to him about, yo, boy, the differences and the advantages of being unified as opposed to being separated. And I would always hit him with reason. I'll be like, yo, homie, the same way you came into RPs with your little dudes and gave us the respect and said, yo, you heard about us and you think we would be a better team of individuals if we was unified, same holds true to the Marcy dudes. We fuck with them heavy like that. So if we fuck with them heavy like that and you fuck with us heavy, you can't beef with them. So whatever issues and with all that shit y'all had, y'all got to put that to the side. And then one day I took Knowledge B down there and sat him down with. We was out in the bench in Marcy on I don't know, on the other side where Tilo was from. And I took Knowledge B there, and it was me, Knowledge B, Hash, H. It was Tilo, Love, Half. I think Shoe was there too. I'm not sure. But we all sat down and I said, yo, listen, bro, like whatever y'all had when we was younger, whatever, that shit is corny. That shit is out the window. Now we trying to get this money. Yeah, dudes is starting to hustle a little bit, get these hammers. All that kitty shit is out the window. If it wasn't no man downs or nothing serious, then we're going to leave that alone and we're going to become a strong unit. And then that's what we did. So that's when you had the Sumner, Tompkins, and Marcy together, bro. And when that came into play, guys, that part of Brooklyn, that side of Brooklyn, it was crazy. The turn-ups was crazy, bro. The turn-ups was crazy. We was giving it to any and everybody. We was doing it on our own, or if not necessarily instructed by, or if our big homies had situations that they needed taken care of and they couldn't get to. We was the younger up and coming cats. We was taking care of that. We would go and handle all situations that they felt either they couldn't get to handle themselves, or they just wanted to see if we was up to the task. So that's how a lot of dudes came up in the hoods by by putting a lot of work in, dudes seeing that they could put on, and then the older dudes recruiting them. And so it was just wild. Like I said, it was wild political. It was just wild in terms of the old heads from the projects. Each project. And what was weird, was interesting that the generation before us, I don't think they necessarily fucked with each other like that. They did, but not to the extent that we did, because we used to be together every single day, running around, putting in cane. Sumner, Tompkins, Marcy, some dudes from Bushwick, included in that, and every single day, because Joe was from Bushwick, and every single day, we running around putting on in Brooklyn.
Was other dudes able to roam around, and Marcy dudes was able to roam around in Sumner and Tompkins without worry and stuff like that?
If they was fucking with us, yeah, that's a fact. If they was fucking with us, right? Because remember, we passed the project control now. Because I told you the project control fizzled out. When the hammers, when the serious beefs started coming with the Hammer. So dudes was able to come through if they was known and if they was fucking with somebody on the team. And that's why I told you a lot of times, you know, projects are big and somebody gonna know somebody. If you a dude, right? If you a stand-up dude and your name resonating in some shape, form, or fashion, or you just a good, solid dude, somebody out of the team is gonna know you, bro. You know what I mean? So some dudes were able to roam around. Some of the Tompkins, Marcy, other dudes weren't. If you weren't from the hood, bro, if you weren't from our hood, bro, and you didn't come through our hood with a solid stand-up dude, you weren't allowed to come in our hood. So Madge was one of the dudes in my hood that brought other dudes from other hoods into the hood to see him. And, you know, Madge was a solid stand-up dude. So when dudes used to come through to see Madge, you know, dudes, that's how we met other dudes. So Madge, you know, used to hang around with K-Sun and Tuck from the east and True from down in the fourth. So them dudes would come into the projects to see Madge, and Madge like, yeah, like, yo, Madge, who the hell? That's my son from such. That's the homie. You get busy, whatever. And these was older dudes. So that's how you start hearing about dudes' reputations, and then them same older dudes, they put in work, and they hearing about us, so they getting to meet us too. Oh, so this is knowledge. This is hash. Oh, this is poise. These dudes heard about us like we heard about them. So when they came through, dudes would make sure that dudes got introduced to dudes, so it wouldn't be no problems. And then from those introductions, led to the various situations and the encounters that we got into. And I told you, so at this point in time, where dudes is blended together, again, you know, we had some dudes from LG that was running with us too. We had some dudes from Fort Greene that was fucking with us, and we had some dudes from Farragut. Like, I started with dudes in Farragut from back in the early days. Dudes, I was fucking with these two twins. I think they lived in 202, building 202 Farragut. The Sass brothers, Dion and Deval and Dion, yeah, the twin, the twins and shit. Those was my guys from Farragut, and they had their team of dudes. So basically that's how we, you know, dudes kind of started connecting with each other, because again, we started in the schools. You meet dudes from different areas of schools. You start hanging out with them. You go into their hood. You see if they solid stand-up dudes in their hood, if they got respect in their hood. And then, then we start bringing them down to our hood, introducing them to the dudes in our hood, and vice versa. So that's how all of that shit started coming into play. And I was telling you about earlier how dudes start. So at one point in time, so we could just take it from Murder Avenue all the way down. So if you take it from Murder Avenue, like Murder in Broadway or Murder in Lewis, up there by Sumner, and go straight down Murder Avenue, you're going to have Sumner projects. You keep going down, you're going to have Tompkins projects. Keep going straight down Murder, you're going to hit Marcy projects. Keep going straight down Murder. Eventually, you're going to come into Clinton Hill projects. LG going to veer off a little bit to the left. It's off of Murder, but it's still in that proximity of, as we going down. Then after we pass Clinton Hill, then you go smack in the Fort Greene, and then to the back of Fort Greene was Farragut. So that whole Myrtle Avenue strip was they called it Murder Ave. Actually, that whole Myrtle Avenue strip was lit back in the 80s with Brooklyn cats that was putting on from Sumner all the way down to Fort Greene and Farragut. And that's how you got some of those stories of interactions with dudes. And again, some of them started with beefs, like, you know what I mean? With the Tracy joint, like we was trying to back him down and take his hammer, and he wasn't having it. To the times with the Killer Benz, when we went down to Fort Greene to see True and them, and Ben and them, and J-Rock and them was probably like, yo, who the fuck is all these dudes in our hood, bro? Because whenever we went places, we went deep, 30, 40, 50 deep. So they was probably like, yo, who these dudes in the hood coming down here, you know what I mean, to see the homies and shit. So they probably, matter of fact, that's a whole story right there. We was going down to Fort Greene to see our troops. About like I told you too, I keep it a bean. I keep it all the way 100. The same way. So this is a similar incident to when I told you about Hash and myself, when we saw Tracy and whoever he was. I believe there might have been a little dude named Crime. I'm not sure, but whatever. I told you about that situation. We didn't know who they was. We was gonna try to get at them, whatever. And I told you about my homie that was there that day that diffused that situation. His name is True. So True was from Tompkins. Home used to be down in Fort Greene, or he was from Fort Greene, used to be down in Tompkins, whichever one it was. But he was down in Fort Greene. We was going to check him. So we went down to Fort Greene to check True, and we was deep. I don't know, we was about 15, 20, 25 deep. So again, now in hindsight, right, and looking back, I can see how a lot of problems would have started, because although we was going to check somebody and we wasn't doing nothing necessarily out of pocket, the fact that you coming in somebody else's hood, that project's that deep, is kind of like the way you view riding a dirt bike through somebody's hood as disrespectful. Even though you're not necessarily doing anything, we wasn't going down to Fort Greene trying to put on.
You're too deep in somebody else's projects. It's going to cause some type of animosity.
That's a fact, and that's how a lot of the Bushwick shit got into play, because we used to go in projects deep. We wasn't necessarily going down there to do nothing, but just the fact that we were so deep, I guess the dudes from those hoods is like, yo, hold on, bro, this is too much. There's too many dudes here, and our hood, and again, I'm gonna just keep it in the story frame. So we went down to Fort Greene. We went to see True. We in the park. We on the Myrtle Avenue side, like when you first get to. I guess that's what they would call the first side of the projects. Like this little corner stores there, and then you could go into the projects right there. And they used to be right there on the benches or whatever inside that little circle, whatever. And it was True. I think it was Tom Mel. Might have been Jamel. I think Rap was there, and I know Killer Ben and J Rock and them might have been there too. And whatever whatever homies from Fort Greene that was down there. It was deep. They was deep in the park, and we came through unannounced, deep as shit, marching right into their park. Looking, because we wasn't afraid of nobody. So we coming through, and we ice staring dudes like they ice staring us. But I knew Rap, and I knew Tom Mel, and I knew Jamel. You know what I mean? And I knew True. So we was coming down and see them. So once they seen me embrace True and True embrace us and start talking to us, it eased the tensions up a little bit amongst the older dudes. But I guess Ben and them, they was the younger dudes, the hitters that I was putting on. They probably was like, yo, who the fuck is these dudes? because I True didn't say, yo, everybody, this is knowledge and Art and Hash and H&M. So dudes didn't do that, bro. If you knew who dudes was, you knew. And if you didn't know and you wanted to find out, then go find out. And you know what I mean? And you would have found out one way or the other. So that's what that situation was. We was in the projects. We stayed for like 5-10 minutes. I seen Ben and them scheming. I didn't know who he was at the particular time because I heard it then, and all the work he was putting in, and all the running around and shit he was doing, but I never actually seen him with my own eyes. So the dudes I saw was like, because Ben is short. Ben is short. Anybody know Killer Ben know Ben was short. So in my eyes, I'm thinking like these like little dudes, like kids or whatever. But nah, these was the hitters. They just was short, you know what I mean? But they was the hitters. So I'm always on point, man. So I see the movements. I see the dude that's acting like he's not a part of, the circle, slide off to the left and start going towards the buildings. I see another dude sliding off to another direction, going to another building. I know what that means because we do that. So you and our hood, and dudes ain't got the right amount of blickies or blickies on them and all that. The dudes know what to do. Dudes, slide off and go get those things. So now I'm talking to the homies, but I'm telling my homies, yo, y'all seen them dudes slide off, so start getting on point. You know what I mean? Y'all know what it is. I didn't know what it was, but I don't know what they was doing. They probably was going to slide off think if we was coming to do something or whatever, but they was following whatever protocols they had. They did the right thing. They went to grip up, arm up. Cool. I peeped game. I seen it. I'm putting my dudes on point. Even though it ain't no problem, if dudes come back grippy, it could always lead to something. So we gonna be on point regardless. So, you know, I guess, you know, odd sure enough, they peeping the tension, they peeping the body language. So I told you, we was militant. So my dudes, we start, when I put dudes on, like, yo, you know, and dudes start moving around, and, you know, we taking perimeter positions now. So, you know, the dudes, yo, now I'm a hard with you. I'm going to catch y'all when I come down the way. We going to do whatever, what y'all getting into. Like, no, we just came to check you. We was going up this way to Atlantic Terminals, and we going up on Fulton Street side to do whatever we doing. All right, I'll get with you later. So, boom, I peeped that as a way of them telling us to breeze, because they didn't want nothing to happen, because they knew that them little dudes, they homies was sliding up and get the hammers. They already knew we was grippy, because they seen the body language and the positions we started taking up. So they was like, no. Y'all need to get the fuck out of here before it gets crazy. So now here's the best part of this. How we really, you know, fully not met, but the situation that led up to us meeting eventually later on. So now, as we leave in the park, you know what I mean? So I told you, we 15, 20, maybe 30 deep. We leaving. I would always stand, you know, as we leave the park, I would always stand till the last man with me left, like, because we, you know, nobody gets left behind with us. So, you know, the main dudes and my team, we would stand in the front till everybody pulled out. You know what I mean? Everybody got out. So once everybody got out the park, we're on Myrtle Avenue now. So now we crossed over to across the street. And the reason we went across the street to the side where Fort Greene Park was, and I don't know what street that is, but that street that leads, the dudes from Fort Greene that be listening, they know what street I'm talking about. The street that leads right up, heading in the direction towards DeKalb Avenue or whatever, that you could go up that street from the first side of the projects. We went across the street. I told dudes to go across the street and take up positions, because I'm seeing, as we leaving, the last man coming out the park, we going across the street, I'm seeing them same dudes that left and slid off to the buildings. I see them coming back, and they coming back with more dudes. So I'm like, yeah. So I start smiling. So I'm like, and now as we start like shaking, like whenever he starts shaking and bouncing around, I know he ready to go. So I'm like, chill, son. It's like, they was just with the homies, and like obviously they with them. They don't know what we down here for. Once they see we leaving, that it wasn't a problem, then they probably gonna stand down and relax. But now it's like, boy, if they come across the street, you already know I'm gone. I'm like, chill. I'm like, chill. So I'm like, yo, listen, let's go. Let's make this right and go up this block. I said, when we go up this block, if they come out the projects and come across the street on this block, then y'all already know what it is. So when we turn the block, it's trees, you know what I mean, on the outside of the Fort Greene Park walls. It's like little trees or whatever, like along the block. So as we go up the block, I'm telling my homies, I'm like, yo, take position. So dudes immediately started jumping behind trees and getting behind the parked cars that was on that street. So now, this had been crazy to the Fort Greene dudes, and the dudes that was there that day, they gotta remember. I told you it was like 20, 30 of us. So imagine you see 20, 30 dudes walking up a block, right? Going up a block. And if you in the back in the projects and you see them go that way, when we went up that block, Killer Bird and them came out the projects to the Ave, to come up, I guess, to probably come behind us to see what we was. I don't know what their intention was. I can't speak to their intentions until I get to that part of the story where Ben and I got together years later and laughed about it and talked about it. So they seen us go up that block, but then when they came running, because I seen them running, when they came running out the projects to look up the block to see what we got, they ain't seen nothing but an empty block. And probably hats and heads peeking from behind trees, because we already took position, because I already told you I saw the dudes coming back from the buildings with more dudes. So I'm like, yo, get across the street, get behind the tree, take position, and take position to us mean get cover so we can, you know what I mean, get the firing. We don't do no running. wasn't gonna be no running, and only running we was gonna be doing was back at their asses if they would have upped it like that. But in the meantime, we not gonna be stationary, visible, easy targets. So we jumped behind the trees. The other homies jumped behind the cars. Knowledge B was behind one car. I was behind one tree. Hash H, Weibo was another dude besides the gun. When he got into the gun game, he used to like to drop to one knee. So Weibo was already bent down on one knee, you know what I mean, in a position. If they would have came up that block, lads, it wouldn't have been good because we had the positions already and we had the cover. They would have had to come up the block to us devoid of any cover. They would have to come straight to us and would have been in the open. So I guess, Killer Ben, he wasn't no dummy. I guess when he looked up the block and didn't see nobody, he knew we was behind trees and cars. So it was about maybe 8 or 9 dudes. I seen them congregating by the entrance of the projects. I don't know what they was congregating about, but it looked like they was trying to decide whether or not they should go up that block. And I know for a fact, I'll never forget, I seen our true tall ass, because he was taller than us. I seen him come out the park and was like, and talking to him like, waving his hand and shaking his head like, nah, bro, like, don't do it, whatever. And that's how that situation dissolved. So they didn't come up that block. We seen our true come out the park of the projects, talk to some dudes, and they started like shaking their head. Their body language looked like they was annoyed and angry because they looked like they wanted to engage us. But I guess the older dudes prevailed and told them nah. They went back in the projects. And then later on, probably the next time I saw our true down in the hood, he told me, he's like, yeah. I said, yo, homie, I saw the little homies. I saw the play they was about to bust, and I ain't want to violate because they was there with y'all. But if they would have came up that block, homie, we was giving them the business. And his exact words was like, yo, homie, I know that y'all had the positions. He said, I seen y'all when y'all started bouncing behind trees and cars. And I told them, yo, don't go up that block fucking with them dudes. And he said, Ben asked me, yo, who is that? Who was that? And he was like, yo, that's Knowledge in them from down in Sumner. So this is how it was too, lads, right? A lot of times when you hear about dudes and you hear about the work they put in and you never get to see them and you see them in a type of almost like confrontational situation, you want to see if they put on like you heard about. Because that was the same way we was. We wanted to see if dudes was about that shit that we heard about. So they was the same way we was. So they probably, wanted to engage us. And later on, years later, when I ran in the band and we was up north behind the wall and we replayed that story, he had his own funny version of it. And he was like, oh, we would have had y'all because we knew y'all was behind the trees. So we just gonna run down and just start blasting and start picking y'all off. I was like, I don't know what movie you thought you was in, my nigga, but it wasn't gonna go down that way. You know what I mean? But those are some of the funnier, interesting stories that I had about how dudes interacted. And then from that point on, when our true came down, he told us, yo, that was Ben and all. I was like, yeah, I heard about son. I know he put on and all that. But yo, boy, you gotta let them know we put on too. And if it would have been anything, it would have been ugly. So if they fuck with you and we fuck with you, then you might want to talk to them and see if we all can fuck with each other as opposed to us getting into something. Because we still gonna come down here and see you. You know what I mean? We coming down here to Fort Greene to see the homies. I'm coming down here to see Rap. I'm coming down here to see Tom Mel. And I'm coming down here to see Ja and the dude and our true dudes I'm fucking with. So if those your homies, you gotta let them know so it won't be a problem. Because every time we coming right. And if they, if dudes act up, then we gonna do what we do, and the best man gonna win. But that's how some of those situations came about, bro, where dudes started interacting with each other. And it might have even been some of the Marcy homies with us that day when we went down there because we was deep. I don't know what we was going to do. We was probably going to do a crime, bro. Back then, we was always, every day we came out the house, it was up, bro. Every day. There wasn't a day that we came out that our cribs and out our homes back then when it wasn't up. We was on to some sort of adventure involving putting in some sort of work or putting on. Word, homie, that days was crazy.
And what else is crazy about that? when you mobbing to another dude hood mad deep like that, even the dudes, and I'm not saying it was this in this particular situation, but even sometimes the dudes you coming to see be feeling a certain kind of way. Like, yo, y'all coming to check niggas, but y'all coming over here looking mad, intimidating, and wild, and deep down in some of them niggas' hearts, they be wanting you to know that it's other niggas out here that we may not be able to control doing some shit. You understand what I'm saying? And dudes be secretly feeling that, like, yeah, know what I mean? You could come through here mobbing and come check me and all of that. Like I said, I'm not saying this was the situation with Rap or whoever was niggas was coming to see, but niggas also want niggas to know we also got some other young boys out here that they untamed and wild. We still in them, we still training them, so we can't be held accountable for the type of shit that them niggas may do. And niggas be wanting it like that.
You 100% right, man. That's a whole fact, because again, that's how it was in our hood. I told you, when in order to come through our hood, you had to know someone of notable repute that was well respected. So we weren't the only ones doing the shit we was doing in Sumner. In Sumner, they was doing that in Tompkins, in Marcy, in Bushwick, in Williamsburg, Borincon, Roosevelt, Farragut, you know what I mean? Brownsville in the East, Cypress. They was doing, yo, listen, homie, there's nothing new under the sun. We didn't design the blueprint for this shit. We had older homies that was putting us onto the game, and we was figuring things out on our own, and we was putting on this particular way. But just because we was putting on that particular way didn't mean other people wasn't doing the same shit. And that's how I told you, a lot of shit happened on the strength of, and a lot of interactions and meetings and hanging out with dudes happened on the strength of something controversial happening first, bro. It's like you had to have some sort of action or the threat of action for dudes to be like, okay, yeah, I like the way them dudes is on point, and all them dudes is ready to put on. And then, you know, dudes respected. We respected dudes that was putting on, because we knew we wasn't the only ones putting on, but we didn't fear nobody. But we respect. There's a difference between respect and fear. You're supposed to respect people. You don't have to fear nobody, but you're supposed to respect people if you want that type of respect, or you take your respect. But we respected people because we knew other people was getting it in the same way we was getting it, especially back in that era of Brooklyn. Boy, that was the zoo. Brooklyn to me has always been like Brooklyn is its own entity, bro. It's like a planet. Brooklyn is self-sustaining, and Brooklyn could be like just another planet by itself with just the size of it, the enormity of it, and the caliber of individuals that you had coming out of Brooklyn in that era, bro. That shit was like the Wild Wild West for real and facts.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too when you was talking about how dudes used to be mobbing in Midtown. I want to say, you know, for those who may be listening and, you know, they not that familiar with New York City, I read some deep shit where basically Brownsville and East New York was undesirable places to live because it was so far from Manhattan. And, you know, other parts of Brooklyn was a little bit closer to Manhattan, downtown Brooklyn, White Corp, all that shit is right across the bridge. But Brownsville and East New York, the government had to give incentives for people to go over there and live because it was so far from Manhattan, and, you know, transportation wasn't the way it is now. It was so far from Manhattan that it was almost impossible to make a living in Brownsville and East New York. So, and the whole Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, all of that, it was all far from Manhattan where the money was made. So this is how robbery became the go-to hustle in Brooklyn. And bro, you know, off the record, I was in Manhattan the other day and I just was looking around and I said, yo, you know what? You know what's different about New York, bro, than other places? The white people here are rich. Like in other places, white people be poor. You understand what I'm saying? But in New York, my nigga, all the white people are rich, basically. So it's a different kind of racism, and it made motherfuckers want to go to Midtown and bust in Diamond District stores, windows, and rob and snatch, because we couldn't afford none of that shit, bro. Niggas had motherfucking Columbia coats and Benetton outlet, the Benetton store that was on 50th Street, and like we couldn't afford none of that shit, bro. Maybe 1 or 2 kids in the whole projects had parents that worked and, you know, bought their kids designer shit, but everybody else, niggas couldn't afford that expensive ass Polo mansion. Niggas got the gooses in the Polo mansion. Them shit's $900. What we was supposed to do?
That's a that's a fact, homie, and that's rich. That's rich. Just not even Brooklyn, but that's rich New York City history that you're giving. And so to the listeners, to just to elaborate on that point. So some people might say, well, why was Manhattan so desirable to live in or whatever? Manhattan was the industrial area where the money was made at, where all of the Wall Street and the big businesses that affected the entire borough, all of the boroughs in New York City. That's where all of that took place at. And you're right, they had those magnificent. Whoa! When we used to young, we used to go to Manhattan and look at the size of some of them stores, the enormity of it, like the Benetton store and Macy's and what was it, the Helly Hansen store? Yo, bro, it was like a playground that we knew we was in to get crazy in, because again, they had that exclusive top brand clothing and jewelry and stuff that we as black people desired, and still to some extent desire this day. We love fashion, clothes, jewelry, you know, that stuff. But and the prices, we couldn't afford those tags, so we was taking it. And that's why you had so many Brooklyn cats back in the early 80s going to Manhattan to rob. We wasn't necessarily going to Manhattan to the hoods to rob. No, we was going to where the money was. That's where you hear stories on that you got in your channels about dudes digging pockets. And dude, we used to throw garbage cans, bro. Back then, I don't know if you remember, they had the big, tall, kind of like metal or whatever the fuck that was, steel, whatever, that garbage bags and all that. We used to pick those garbage cans up and throw them through the jewelry store windows or the clothing store windows, because this was, I think, before they got hit to that and started making it double pane glass, so you couldn't get through there unless you was blasting through them shits. We used to throw shit through the garbage cans and bricks through the windows and loot and take it off. That's a fact. That's crazy that you touched on that history, because that was a big thing back then.
That's a fact. I got a story on the channel with my bro Saquon where he got an episode where he cut the shit out of his arm and damn near bled to death trying to jump through one of them jewelry store windows and got cut.
I know those stories all too well, because one of my first jewelry store missions that I went on, I cut my left arm almost to the white knee, and I'm good thing I didn't rupture a vein, because I was sticking my arm through the window of a jewelry store. Now this was another story. It was so many dudes. I told you, dudes would just congregate and meet up. It was Miami. It was Chicago. It was I think I'm not sure if the homie.
Why them dudes was called that? They was really from Miami and Chicago?
I'm not even sure, but I think the dude I went to the school with them when I eventually went to the high or whatever, but no, I don't know. Miami could have been from Miami, Chicago could have been from Chicago, but you know, dudes in New York, in the hoods in Brooklyn, all that had intricate names, so I don't know why. But whatever fact checkers are, or whoever checks into that history, or it might be some dudes that knew Miami and that knew Chicago and know why they was called Miami, Chicago, maybe they could jump in the comments. But the story was, we was all in the city and we all met up and we was like, yo, and another big geezer dude, I believe his name was Hulk, either Hulk or Hawk.
You talking about Hawk that was in Big Daddy Kane video playing cards with him?
Yeah, sorry, that's my son. He was from the era of the smashing the windows and the jewelry store heists, and all this is before the guns came into play. Yeah, that dude right there that you just mentioned, that's what I'm talking about. It was him, myself, it was Miami, it was Chicago, it was a bunch of dudes. It was so many, it was the Boston dudes, Shoe Shot and all that. Juju, God bless him, Juju was there at that time and all that. Matter of fact, let me correct that. Juju wasn't there. When we got back to the hoods trying to sell a jewelry, I think I tried to sell something, one of the pieces that I got to Juju. But back to the story, I think it was either Miami or Chicago threw the brick through the window, but it didn't shatter the whole joint. When he threw it through the window, it just made like a little hole. So somebody else, it was either Miami or Hawk, one of them dudes, picked up the garbage can, the steel, the green garbage can, and they threw it, you know what I mean, and kept smashing it into the window until it made a bigger hole. And then, you know, it was just a free fall. Everybody run to the window and stick their hand in there, and it's the snatch and grab game. And then think about it, lads, how brazen is this? Because I'm quite sure, you know, they have police and detectives and all that everywhere. We didn't care though, because we was 50 to 75 to 100 deep. And this was my mentality. I was always athletic. You know what I mean? Coming up, I always played ball, baseball, football. You know what I mean? I was always athletic and fast, and I ran track. I was really, really fast. So in my mind, I used to always tell my homies from Sumner, when we get up with all these other crews from different areas, I used to like, yo, bro, don't be the slowest one, because the slowest one is going to be the dude that the police jump on their back. So I was always confident that once I got my hand in there and we was grabbing, and dudes like the police is coming, I always knew that my speed was going to enable me to last in the chase and to get away. So I was never fearful of those type of brazen Manhattan Midtown robberies, because I knew that my foot game on the chase wasn't no white man, black man in no police uniform with a big gun and a nightstick and all that. They wasn't catching me, you know? Even the D's that thought they was younger and faster, they wasn't catching me. I know they probably used to be like, whoever that black motherfucker right there is, he need to be a track star instead of a robber, because he was gone. Gone. Yeah, lads. Yeah, you brought back some flashbacks in my head, bro. I haven't seen or heard or thought about Miami and Chicago and Hawk and them in so long, bro. We in 2023. This is shit that we was doing in 80, 81. Like, you know what I mean? This shit is crazy, but you know, that's some of that rich Brooklyn history.
Hey yo, shout out to the God Black Knowledge. Shout out to the whole Sumner Projects. Shout out to the whole Tompkins Projects. You heard the whole Brooklyn. Shout out to comedy legend Tracy Morgan. You know, it's a lot of untold stories in these Brooklyn streets. And, you know, we all gotta be grateful, myself included, that we get a chance to uncover some of these jewels and some of these legends. You heard? But yeah, man, if you a fanatic of this street stuff like me, man, if you a fanatic of this street history and this Brooklyn history and this New York history, you know, I need y'all to throw those Statue of Liberty emojis up in the comments. You heard? Comment gang, you already know you got to get to work on this, baby. Slim Blunt gang in the building. You feel me? If you absolutely adore what I'm doing over here on this channel and how I'll be manhandling YouTube, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, man, and hit that bell too so you get a notification every time I unleash some of this fire. You heard? Z-Man Suicide Polo with the ski man running around the hood like He-Man at 3 a.m. with 3 swams looking for a dude that ran off with 3 grams. You heard? And I'ma find him. Let's get it.
Yeah, bro, the last episode we did was about Knowledge B from Tompkins. You said it was a particular time where you had to save Tracy Morgan's life from Knowledge B.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a whole fact. That's a whole fact. Yeah, shout out to the homie Tracy Morgan, man. That's my guy. We came up together like from the sandboxes in the young days. But yeah, I definitely had to kind of like pull knowledge up off of Tracy's situation. So I guess in order for me to kind of like give you that story, I gotta start from the beginning, right? So to kind of like to give you the full history of it. So Tracy Morgan was my brother Poison. I don't know if I told you before, but you know, I mean, I got a younger brother, 2 younger than me. His name Poison, whatever, and shit. And Poison went to what's that? Junior high school? Yeah, junior high school. 33. IS 33 or whatever the fuck it was called back then, down in like by Tompkins Projects, whatever. So he went to 33, and Tracy Morgan was from Tompkins Projects, and he went to 33 too with my brother. So I guess that's how they became cool, going to 33 together. At the time, my brother and Tracy was going to 33. I was going to IS 71. Like that was a school where you get, you know, I mean, special program where you like, I guess if you smart, they skip you from the 6th grade to the 8th grade. I did really well in those test exams in elementary school, the 5th grade, whatever. So they sent me to one of them special program schools. I was supposed to go to 33, which is across the street from me, but they, you know, I guess I was a little bit more advanced academically, so they sent me over to IS 71. So how this is funny, you know, wow, these are some funny stories here, bro. So this is what happened. This is how it used to be, right? So I don't know, like, how it was with y'all growing up or whatever. If you had a bunch of brothers and dudes from the hood or whatever, I don't know. In every hood, it's like there's always like one project or one apartment that everybody congregates in, right? Everybody hangs out in. So when I was going to IS 71, my little brother Poise, he was going to 33, and him and all of his homeboys, Tracy Morgan included, a lot of times the little dudes be playing hooky and all that, and then they would be congregating in my mom's crib, because my mom's would be at work while we're at school. Usually we got home from school, whatever was doing our homework, and then she would come home from work maybe like 6 to 7 p.m. around that time. So it's a lot of times I would come home from school and I would come to the crib, and it'd be mad fucking dudes in the crib, bro, in my room and shit. Feast, yo, bro. When you know, when dudes is younger, the hygiene and shit is a little bit different. So everybody probably wasn't on top of the hygiene or whatever. And you know how that back in the days, your moms always come in the room. It smell like fucking ass and feet and underarms in here. Yo, bro, no lie, laughs, no cap. I used to come in that room, my brother and them dudes, bro. I don't know what the fuck we smell like. A mad, nasty, musty locker room or a zoo. Just feet. And I was like, yo, bro, I'm coming in, like, you know what I mean? Because, you know, we lived in the projects, a little small room, whatever. My brother bed was on one side, my bed was on the other side. I come in there, last be 7, 8 niggas playing hooky, beer and shit all in the crib. These niggas with their shoes on, laid up all on my bed and shit. I'm like, nah, bro. Like, so a lot of times I would get in there, come home, get in the arguments, be yelling and shit like that. So, all right, let's back it up just a little bit more. Before the junior high school days, my brother and I was into karate. my mom's sent us to karate school. I guess, I don't know if it was just for defensive purposes, for us to learn how to defend ourselves, or a different form of combat to learn, or just because, that was the in thing back in the days of the karate movies and all that. Everybody wanted to go to karate school or kung fu school and learn all those different forms of martial arts. So my brother, myself, and a few other cats from my projects, my man Fish, shout out to homie Fish, May 24, we was all in karate school. And I forgot the instructor name, but it was somewhere in Brooklyn, somewhere in Bed-Stuy. The black dude was the instructor, so that was weird. Like, how the fuck was a black dude teaching kung fu? Like, to a kid, I'm like, I thought kung fu was supposed to be taught by Chinese people. So in my mind, I'm already like, this shit is bootleg. But actually, dude was official and whatever. So boom, we had the white. So my moms would try to keep us in character with all that shit. So we had the whole white karate gi. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the karate gi, but just think of, remember when Martin Lawrence used to do that skit on his show where he was Kung Fu Joe's or whatever the fuck that was? He had that white karate gi on and the stupid head. Yeah, Dragon Jones. Yeah, so imagine that look right there on us with the Kung Fu gi. So boom, we went to karate school for a period of time, and then, when we was younger, probably like 8, 9 or whatever, some shit like that, and then we stopped. So that's just the backdrop. So now fast forward to the junior high school days. So now one day, I come home from the school, I'm tired, I'm aggravated, whatever. I come in the crib, these, it's about 7, 8 dudes, bro, like, my man Shy from upstairs, my man H, my man Tiz from up the hill, whatever. And this one particular day, it was Tracy Morgan. I didn't know Tracy Morgan like that at the time. I might have seen his face in passing, but I didn't know, all of my brother friends like that. But I learned them from them being in the crib, fucking playing hooky when I came home from school. So boom, I come in the crib, shit stinking as usual, feet and all that ass everywhere. I'm like, yo, bro, y'all niggas. So boom, so Tracy, unbeknownst to me at the time, Tracy was always a comedian. He's always had like this gift of being able to make people laugh, bro. So what happened was, when I came in there talking shit, Tracy said something like, yo, Nas, you always coming in here talking shit, and or something like that or whatever, just like, just talking back smart about me bitching about them dudes stinking up the room and being all on my bed and all that wild shit. So he was like, so I guess he must have been in the closet, because I told you I went to karate school, and my karate gi, I still had the gi. I still had the karate gi, the kung fu gi, hanging up in my closet. So he saw it and whatever, probably prior to me coming into the crib. So he was, like I said, he was always a jokester with the ability to make people laugh, and he was a good ranker. He would rank you out. So he like, yeah, man, you ain't tough. You coming in here, your chest all poked out, trying to tell us what to do and boss us around and shit. You think you know kung fu? I seen that bullshit karate gi in your closet. You don't know kung fu. So I said, yeah, I bet you I do. I bet you I could fuck your ass up with that kung fu I know. And so you know how little kids is, everybody gassing it up. Ooh, yeah, we want to see it. So everybody spread out on the bed, sat on my bed, sat on my brother's bed. Tracy got in the middle, and I went in the character. I took the gi, the karate gi out the closet. I went in the bathroom. We had the Chinese stupid ass slippers or whatever them shits was, the little shits with the brown, black at the bottom, them little kung fu black shoes that Bruce Lee and them niggas used to be having on. So boom, I put the whole shit on. In the bathroom, lads, I went, put that whole shit on, came back in the room, right? So now, I wasn't super nice, but I had elevated, when I was going to karate school, I think I had elevated to like a white belt or a brown belt, or red, one of them shits, whatever was before the black. I didn't get up to the black. At the black level, I believe back then you was competing in competitions and fighting in little tournaments. I didn't get up to that stage yet, but I got up to the stage where I could kick the shit out of a nigga. So we squaring up the fight, right? Yo, this is the funniest shit. You can't see me laughing, but I'm actually standing up to kind of like give you a visual, because I remember it vividly like it was yesterday. So we in the middle of the in the floor in the room. I'm standing on one side. Tracy standing on the other side, and one of the other dudes that was in there, Hash, H, Shab, Tiz, whoever, one of them was the instigator, like the dude standing in the middle, like when they put their hand down, that would mean go. So boom, you know, I'm ready. Tracy's standing there like this shit is a game. And in my mind, I said, oh, he think this is a game. I'm finna beat fuck flames out this dude. So he's standing there like regular, completely squared up, not no stance. I got my left, because I'm right-handed. So I got my left foot forward, my right foot back a little bit, and I'm bent a little low. The way they taught you with my, you know what I mean, bent at the knee a little bit in a little crouch position. And my man, whoever that was in the middle, and he put his hand down and like, go. As soon as he said go, I fucking kung fu kick horse shit out that nigga nuts. No, no tackle, and it was the official flush joint. I don't know if you know and I think I might have been a little, yeah, I might have put a little E or a little, yeah. Yo, it's crazy. That's the shit they teach you in karate school, to yell right, you know what I mean, at the point of impact or whatever, I don't know, to give it more force, whatever. But when he said go, I hit him with the yeah, and the foot, it was the sound effect, yo. So the gis, right? This is why I like those karate gis, because the gis, when you have them on, they're mad baggy and big. So when you make certain movements, they actually make the sound effect that they do in the kung fu movies. You know, the all that shit. So when I kicked, you heard the, and then you heard the, and then you heard the E, but like E from me, and then you heard the oh from the nigga. So it was all those sound effects and what? So he was like, oh. So he fell down, right? So he fell down on the floor. He's on the, and I caught him. I didn't really mean to do that. I didn't want to hurt him, but I you know, combat. You supposed to go in. I wasn't playing. I don't know what he thought. He probably didn't know karate. I did a little bit, and I was going to show him, and I did show him. So I kicked him in his nuts, and he fell to the ground, to the floor, grabbing his nuts, right, screaming, rolling over. So this, listen, my little brother gonna get mad, bro. Yo, shout out to my bro, boys, don't get mad, but you know me, bro. I tell the stories the way they are, minus the embellishments and the cap and all that. So Tracy's ripping around on the floor in agony, screaming a little bit like, my nuts, my nuts. And my little brother, so everybody's standing around shocked, like everybody on the beds with the little monkeys and shit, with one hand over the mouth, one hand over the eyes, one hand over the ears. Everybody just in shock motion, like, oh shit, is he really hurt? What happened? So I'm standing there, stuck too, like, damn, I ain't know I kicked him that hard or whatever. He on the floor, so this is no cap. So my little brother, we was young then, so my little brother started crying. So my little brother started crying and shit like, yo, man, you killed me. So he like, yo, man, you killed me. So listen, and this is why, from this day forth, lads, when I continue to tell you the story, I'm going to show you why I fell in love with the homie Tracy Morgan, man, and our bond remained solid and strong all the way up until this day. So while Tracy was on the floor, you know, my brother over him tending to him like, yo, you all right? And she didn't cry like, yo, you killed my friend. How the fuck I killed him and he talking to you and y'all, whatever. But you know, the young minds or whatever. So Tracy is so funny, and he's such an impromptu dude that knows how to say shit and react on the fly. He's holding his nuts, right? Imagine dude on the floor holding his nuts, writhing in pain, right? So while my brother's saying that, bent over him, looking at him, he looked at my brother and then looked at me and looked at this is Tracy Morgan, looked at everybody in the room, and he said, yo, boys, he kicked me in my nuts. What you crying for? Yo, the whole room just burst out in laughter, lads. You'd have had to be there to really fully appreciate that moment. And from that, I helped him up and shit, and that's when we knew he was okay. We all started laughing and joking around and hanging out. So like I said, at that, and then this is one of the reasons why I liked him, right? That he was able to make a joke out of a somewhat serious situation, even while he was writhing in pain, right? So I liked him from that point. I said, oh shit, son is kind of all right, and he's funny. But here was like the best part, right? So I told you that, like, my mom, she would usually get home from work like around 6 or 7 o'clock. So sometimes when I would come home like 3:30, we would have a 2.5, 3 hour window. If my brother had dudes or if I had dudes in the apartment that we had to chill and hang out before we had to get them out. Because my mom was one of the type of moms, like I said, my mom was kind of young and wild. She had us when she was younger, so she didn't like a bunch of people in her crib. So I had one of those moms that didn't like a whole bunch of people in her crib. Not necessarily that she didn't like them in her apartment or her crib. She didn't like them there while she wasn't there. I guess because she was an adult, she knew we was young and wild and probably up to no good. So I guess she wanted to supervise us, especially if there was, other kids there. She didn't want nothing to happen to somebody else's kid at her apartment, and she'd be held responsible for it. So her thing was, don't have nobody in my crib when I'm not home. And if we violated that rule that she had, and she caught us, she would whoop our ass. So, I came from the era of, not saying it was right or wrong, but I came from the era of spankings, like, not spankings, ass whoopings with a belt. Like, you know what I mean? The belt, get butt ass naked, sometimes get in that water, soften up that skin. Let me get that belt, and I'm tearing your ass up. I don't know what kind of slavery mentality, goofy shit that was. I never did that to my kids, man. I never beat my kids with no belt, none of that goofy shit. I felt like that was corporal punishment when I was a kid, and I was a victim of it, and I didn't like it. So I made sure that when I got older and I had kids, I didn't do that to them. But anyway, as the story goes, it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock. When or maybe 4:30 when me and Tracy had the karate fight, and I downed him with the groin shot, and so now we in there, and we sitting there chilling, whatever, and dudes would always look out the window, because I lived on the first floor, so dudes would always look out the window. We had a system, would always look out the window on the Park Avenue side, the side of my window that faced Woodhull Hospital, because that's where my moms would come from. She would get off the J or the M train at the Flushing train station and walk up Marcus Garvey, Sumner Ave. It was Sumner Ave back then before they changed it to Marcus Garvey. She would walk up that end before she got to Park Avenue. So dudes wasn't on point. We was probably in there playing around, doing too much, whatever. And what happened was my mom's got past the first set of windows and got to the part of the window where she was right by the building. So by the time somebody noticed her, like, oh shit, your mom's coming, she was already putting the key in the building and getting into the building. So now nobody could go nowhere. It's like about 8 dudes in my room, lad. So, and I knew that was a super ass whooping probably in front of everybody. So I was like, yo, y'all gonna have to, everybody get under the beds and hide in the closet. This was the funniest shit ever. So Tracy was kind of like a little tall, kind of little whiff on him. He was like a little heavier back then. He got in the closet. So Tracy and Sha got in the closet. Tracy, Sha, and maybe Tiz. It could have been like 3 kids could have fit in that closet. The guy, my man Tiz Long from up the hill, Murder Avenue side. And H, I always tell you about my homie H. That was my crime. He lived in the building with me upstairs. He got under my brother bed, because back in the days when you had those beds that connected and you could pull a lever on one and make it go down and push it under the bed. Mm-hmm. And then if you pull it back out and pull it and it stands up, we had one of those beds, but we separated. So my bed was on one side, and I kept mine low to the ground, because I used to like to sleep closer to the floor because it was cooler for me that way. And my brother's bed, Pauly's bed, was up high, so at least 3 dudes was under his. It was crazy. Like 3 dudes in the closet and like 3 or 4 dudes bunched up under a fucking bed. So we had the blanket. So I pulled the blanket down over the bed so that the blanket would hang down to the floor, so that you couldn't see to the floor. And then we had a little curtain, closed the curtain. So my moms came in the crib, so she immediately like, yo, where y'all? What y'all doing? Blah, blah, blah. So we like, we in the room. So boom, I kind of like, she came to the door. So my brother and I, we kind of like met her at the door, like, and blocked her so she couldn't come in the room. So she was like, yo, this room stink. So she's like, it smells like fucking feet in here. Y'all clean this room up and go take a shower and wash your feet. Stink. So now I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, damn, my mom's home 2.5 hours earlier. How we gonna get these dudes out the crib without her noticing and us getting in trouble, getting our ass whooped? So, yo, check it. This was the wild shit, right? So they stayed under those beds and in that closet last to about 9 o'clock. To about 9 o'clock that night. Check it. We went. My mom's made dinner and everything. We in the kitchen eating dinner, right? So in the kitchen, if you come out the kitchen, you can look straight down the hallway, and straight down the hallway, you can see all the way to the back of my bedroom, where our bedroom was. And every time I kept hearing noises, right? Because my mom's like, she's cooking, so I would get up, act like I got to go to the bathroom, act like I'm doing something, and I would see fucking the dudes like, yo, man, making noises, supposed to come back. I go back, you're like, yo, man, you gotta get us out of here. Can I climb out the window? Yo, my mom's gonna kick this is Tracy Morgan. He lived with his grandmas at the time. He's like, yo, nah, man, my grandmother gonna kill me, bro. It's like 7:30, 8 o'clock. We didn't have cell phones back then, so you didn't know where, you know what I mean? We used communication, like verbal communication, speaking to people, or send a message and somebody go tell somebody shit. But there wasn't no cell phones, not to my knowledge. We didn't have any at that age. So Tracy was bitching, and Tiz, and I think Shaw was bitching. H was cool. He lived in the building, and H was like, you know, his moms knew he would come downstairs and hang out with us, or we were upstairs hanging out with him, so he was good. But everybody else was bitching like a motherfucker, thinking about them ass whoopings they was gonna get if they didn't get home. So I had to like physically. So the nigga Tracy was, he was like, yo, listen, man, you gonna have to just tell your moms, man, we sorry, and you just gonna have to man up and take that ass whooping. But I gotta go. I was like, boy, I pushed him back in the room and everything. I said, boy, listen, if you come out this room and go down that hall, after I get that ass whooping, every time I see you, I'm fucking you up. So like you, like which one it's gonna be? I'm gonna get the ass whooping, but you gonna get the ass whooping every time I see you. Chill, son, we got you. So my brother was like that. So my brother Poise, I told you, like, everybody out my team of dudes like had a label. So my brother Poise was like the influencer, right? He's the type of dude that can always like influence dudes. That's the best way for me to put it. He's like a gamer, but he's more of like an influencer. He would influence dudes. So he would always be able to calm dudes down through what I always felt was like trickery. Like he would outsmart you through trickery means. So what he did was, while I was using threats and thoughts of violence to try to keep dudes at bay, keep them from coming out, my brother was the smart one. Yeah, he was smart. That was the best idea. He came back there with food. The food that my mom's cooked. And he was like, yo, here, eat this and just chill. So, so the food at some point calmed them down. So they eating. So my mom's like, yo, how you asked my brother why you took that food in the room and then you come back with no food and whatever. I think I might have had a dog. I don't know what type of wild story he gave her to the food, but so what he did was, my mom's, after she cooked, she probably went into the bathroom or into the bedroom to get herself situated to get ready to take a bath or shower before she went to bed. And we was going in through the pots and taking them out mad food. So I don't know how your crib was. When we grew up, right, my mom used to always try to keep the crib as intricate and as nice as possible. Even though we was in the hood, the ghetto doesn't make a difference. We had one of the better apartments in the projects because that's just the way my mom's was. She liked nice things. So she had a carpet. I think it was a rust-colored carpet. And I don't know if you know what those, they had plastic runners that go over the carpet that you had to walk on because she didn't want you to walk on the carpet. So you had to walk on those runners with your shoes on and then take your shoes off if you wanted to step onto the carpet. That's just the way my mom was. So we had those loud plastic runners that stretched all the way to the left of the hallway. So moving forward, long story short, it's probably like around 9 o'clock. Dudes in there crying, panicking. So my mom's comes out of her room and goes into the bathroom and closes the door to use the bathroom. She's not showering, but she's using the bathroom. So at that point, I'm like, fuck it. I'm telling my brother, yo, it's now or never. So I'm like, yo, I'm going to go to the door. You get them out. So I ran down to the door. I opened the door, and my brother was at the back door to the bedroom, like, yo, come on, go. Yo, lads, that shit sounded like, I don't know if you had dogs, but just imagine, I don't know, just a bunch of just imagine a bunch of foot, make a lot of noise.
Should sound like a football. Should sound like a football team coming through the joint to go on the field.
Right, so I don't know why my moms didn't realize that wasn't just myself and my brother running around in the hallway, because I told you, like 8 dudes in there, and this was all mad beats, and these dudes were scared to death to get caught by my mom's number one, and super scared because they knew they had an ass whooping coming for them, because it was like 9-something at night on a school night. So you hear all this running past. So my mom was like, yo, what the hell is all that? I was like, oh no, we playing. So listen. This is the funniest shit ever, right? So now, the way my building is, I can't even describe it in proximity. I would have to visually show it to you. But the way my building is, my building, 834, my shit faces the direction going towards like Truth Avenue. So you could cut through the projects to get to Troop Avenue and cross the street to Tompkins to where Tracy Morgan, grandmother building, or you could have ran down Park Avenue, the Ave, and then turned up Troop. But cutting through the projects was the fastest way to go. So now I act like I was emptying the garbage, right? You know, those project incinerators and all that. So I took the garbage out, as I opened the door, and all them dudes ran out. This is what I want to show you, how fast niggas was moving. In particular, the homie Tracy Morgan. Now, I told you he was in there crying, his grandmother gonna kill him, whatever. So boom, I opened the door, got them out, act like I was emptying the garbage. So I lived on the first floor, right there. The front door when they go out the building was only steps from my apartment. So when, I opened the door and Tracy turned and hauled ass out the building. So he had a nice little distance to get to before he got, through the projects to his, to cross Troop Avenue and get in the Tompkins. That was only it couldn't have been no more than 3 seconds where I opened the door, let them out the building, and I went back into my apartment and looked out the kitchen window just to see, just to look to see where when I looked out my kitchen window, the last memory that I had was Tracy Morgan cutting that corner by that building that I told you was the building 808, where that other situation transpired, and then he had to cut through 59 Park before he came out the other side of the park through Troop Avenue and across the street into Thompson. My last memory of that particular incident was, so there was a saying that we had back in the days where we would say, niggas was running so fast, their feet was kicking their own ass. So that's when you know a motherfucker really digging, lads. When their feet is moving and you can see like the bottom of their sneaker like coming up on their ass, that's when you really burning like the whatever that meat shit is. Maybe the road runner, whatever. That's how the homie Tracy was moving. All I remember was his feet kicking his own ass, and he burst rubber over there to the project. So, boom, I probably saw Tracy like a week or two later and asked him, did he, what, you got your ass whooped? Because I wanted to hear the war story about how his grandmother tore his ass out. So I'm like, yo, you got a beating? What happened? He's like, no, really, she wasn't even mad. I just, whatever intricate lie Tracy's told me that he told his grandmother as to why he stayed out, I don't remember that story, but I know that he did tell me he didn't get his ass whooped. But he was like, yo, man. And Tracy, that same funny voice that he used to make on when he played Hustle Man and Martin, when he had that deep voice like, oh, man, oh. That's the same voice that he had back then when we was kids. So that's funny when I think back on it, how, he transitioned to become this really successful and great comedian just from doing some of the talk, doing some of the shit that he did when we was kids. So he told me that story. It was cool. So So now moving along. Remember, I told you we in junior high school now. This is before all of the other stories that I told you about, where we was getting into the gun games and getting into the wars and all that other shit. So before all that transpired, we were still young, up and coming. You know, I would see Tracy coming in and out the hood and shit because he hung in Sumner. He would hang in Sumner with us, or with my brother and a few other people that he knew from Sumner. And he used to hang out with the girl, the one I told you that I referred to as my sister Tiffany and all that. So Tracy used to hang with a lot of girls. Like, you know, he thought he was this little, you know, as we was getting older, he was this magnificent Don Juan player and shit. He liked to fuck with a lot of the women. So he would, you know, probably act like on the surface, oh, we cool, but secretly behind closed doors, he's probably trying to get that ass or whatever, like most dudes would do in those types of situations. But anyway, like I was saying, you know, I would see him, you know, growing up, you know, throughout life. So as we starting to transition into some of those stories of, you know, some of the legends and shit, and getting our hands on hammers and all that, Tracy was still around. You know, because he was a part of the neighborhood. He was from the hood. So, you know, he was still being in projects and shit. So at this point now, we starting to play with, as we got a little older, we starting to play with, you know, the hammers, and we doing situations and getting into certain beefs and shit. And at this point in time, Tracy had become much more funnier. Remember, I told you that he was a jokester in the house from the Kung Fu karate incident when he said something smart and kind of called me out, and we ended up getting into the karate fight. And when I downed him with a nut shot, he's still able to tell a joke. And, you know, he was always good at ranking. As we got older, he still had that funny way about him, ranking you out and telling jokes. So we would all hang in the projects, be sitting on the bench, breaking night and shit. There was plenty of times that we would all be sitting on the bench like 15, 20, 30 deep, and Tracy Morgan would be there, and he telling jokes. You know, everybody told little jokes and ranked each other out. We always thought we was all funny, but he was always the funniest, and nobody really wanted to get into a ranking session with him because he would rank you the fuck out to the point where you'd be ready to fight. That's how nice he was at this young age. Nobody knew that he was going to grow into this comedian. We just, you know what I mean, growing up together. So it got to a point now where we playing with the hammers. And then I told you about my homie that at one point I said was a serial killer. Then I walked that back and said he was like more of a sociopath, whatever. My homie Knowledge B and shit. So around this time, I also told you about Knowledge B older brother. That was one of my big homies that I fucked with heavy. His name was Raleigh. And Raleigh was from Tompkins. When Knowledge B, they was from Tompkins. Used to fuck with this girl from my projects in Sumner. We used to call it Cupcakes. So I'm going to just keep it like that. I won't put nobody names out there, whatever, real names, don't know what they doing, and you know what I mean, how they might feel about particular stories or whatever. But back then we used to call it Cupcake. That was Raleigh's right hand road dog, his ride or die. So when I think of, you know what I mean, Bonnie and Clyde's and all of them ride or die songs, me and my girlfriend and all that, that was the epitome of the relationship between Raleigh and the lady I referred to as Cupcake. They was a little bit older than us, but them two did everything together, bro. They was everywhere together. You didn't see one without the other. And even on the times when Raleigh came to chill and hang around with us on our wild shit, Cupcake would still not be too far away, and she was one of them aggressive girls, like, you know what I mean, to put hands on her boyfriend, and they'd be out there plucking and all that if you didn't kind of like do what she wanted you to do. So now we at the point where my homie Raleigh passed and shit, right? And that, you know, that shit caused a lot of turmoil and a lot of strife and a lot of beef, and you know, we kind of like really went crazy with it after Raleigh's death and shit, particularly me, because hit me probably just as hard as it hit his brother Knowledge B, because I told you Raleigh was one of the dudes. I met Raleigh. I was fucking with Raleigh before I was fucking with Knowledge B, and Raleigh was like, you know what I mean, my big bro and shit. So that kind of hit me hard. That's a different story. But anyway, as the story goes, Raleigh passed, and I told you Cupcake was his main shorty, right? Everybody in the project knew that, so nobody ever tried to violate, as far as I knew, like in terms of trying to talk to her or whatever, if the homie Raleigh was away in jail or whatever. So now, you know, he passed or whatever, and a period of time went past, and I think there was like rumors that Tracy Morgan was fucking with Cupcake. I'm not sure if and how accurate it was, but I think I recall the homie Knowledge B telling me one day, like, I think he said he saw Tracy coming out of his building, his grandmother building or whatever, and because, you know, Cupcakes used to be up at Knowledge E and Raleigh and them grandmother crib or whatever in Tompkins and shit. And I think the story, matter of fact, this is a fact, because when I confronted Knowledge about the story that I'm leading up to, this is one of the reasons why he told me. So I believe that Knowledge B told me that at one point in time, he saw Tracy Morgan coming out of his grandmother building, and he kind of questioned Tracy as to, like, yo, dude, what the fuck you doing coming out to my grandmother building? Like, who you know in there? Who was you going to see in there? So unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that maybe at that time, maybe like I said, there might have been some rumors of Tracy fucking with the girl Cupcake, and maybe Knowledge got wind of the rumor, and maybe him having gotten wind of that and seeing Tracy come out of his building, maybe that made some wheels turn in his head and put a little validity to the rumor, and he wanted to press Tracy in question. So I don't know how all that transpired, but what happened was, actually, it come to find out, Tracy was fucking with the girl Cupcake. But this was like a period of time after the homie Raleigh had passed, maybe like a couple years and shit, maybe a year or two, whatever, however amount of time it was. You know, people move on. You know what I mean? Shit happens, people move on. You know, that was her ride or die. He passed. She still had to live her life and, you know, meet other people, deal with other people. So I don't know what was transpiring, because they was over there in Tompkins, but like I told you, this is past the point of where we met Knowledge, and Knowledge is fucking with us heavy, and, you know, that was my right hand, and he used to be with me on a regular basis. So I don't know what happened, but whatever happened and whatever transpired, Tracy was still, you know, cool with my brother, because we're all still cool to this very day. But Tracy was still tight with my brother, and I guess an incident had transpired where I believe Tracy felt uncomfortable, and he might have felt like you know, his life was in jeopardy or whatever, and he reached out to my brother, Poise, because he knew that Knowledge B fucked with me, and he knew Poise was my brother, so I guess he reached out to his man like, yo, Poise, man, please, can you talk to your brother and have your brother talk to this dude Knowledge B, because, you know, I think he trying to kill me, because I think word had got back to Tracy that I think Knowledge might have been waiting in the stairs or whatever by his grandma's apartment, and was, you know what I mean, was gonna do what Knowledge, you know what I mean, was gonna do what he do or whatever. So I guess that might have shook Tracy up a little bit or whatever, and he reached out to my brother because, you know, he knew my brother could reach out to me, and that I could talk to the homie Nas, because everybody knew that we, you know what I mean, we was that close where I was like one of the only dudes that could kind of like calm this dude down when he had his mindset about something. So my brother approached me. One day we was in the crib and shit, we was in the front of the building. He was like, yo, let me holler at you. So I think we went in the crib in the room, and he was like, yo, you know, this exact words to my recollection. He was like, yo, man, yo, you gotta talk to your dude Charlie for me, man. Like, yo, he bugging out. So I'm like, what's up, homie? What you mean? What's wrong? He's like, yo, man, he trying to kill my friend. You know what I mean? Tracy gonna do something to my man Tracy, and I don't want that to happen. I'm like, what you mean? What Tracy? Tracy Morgan Tracy? Cool Tracy? Comedian dude? Funny dude? You're like, yeah. So I'm like, what's up? What happened? So my brother, I told you, my brother was an influencer. So he probably was using his influential tactics on me at that time, now that I fucking think back about it. But he was like, so he was an influencer, meaning that he knew how to use his words and choose his words correctly. So I guess he didn't want to just blatantly tell me like, oh yeah, Tracy and Cupcake fucking around. So he was like hitting around like, yo, I think that Knowledge B thinks that the dude Tracy is fucking with Cupcake, his brother, old girl. So I'm like, what you mean thinks? Like, either he is or he isn't, homie. What do you mean you think? You're like, yo, I don't know. I don't be around motherfuckers when they be doing what they do. This is my brother Poise. I don't know. I don't be around motherfuckers when they be doing what they be doing. But either way, it don't make a difference if he is or he isn't. So I'm like, I stopped him right there. I said, yo, actually it does, homie, because you know how this dude Knowledge is, and you know how he is about his brother, and whatever. But my brother, again, he was like, yo, I understand all that, but listen, bro, and this is how he influenced me and broke it down to me. Listen, she's a grown woman. She older than us. So she has a right to make the choices of who she want to sleep with or who she want to fuck with, or whatever. So Knowledge don't have the right to tell her who she can't fuck with. And how is he gonna be mad at Tracy if she choose him and he fuck with her because his brother already dead and gone, dog. You know what I mean? Rest his soul, whatever. He no longer here. So so I heard my little bro. I heard the wisdom in what he said. He was correct. He was 100% correct, right? But I knew my homie Knowledge, right? And I knew Knowledge wasn't gonna be trying to hear that, because his thing was, and this is a weird way to look at it, lad. Maybe we can discuss it afterwards. But his thing was, all right, that was my brother girl. My brother is dead. He's no longer here. So ain't nobody around here talking to my brother girl. You know what I mean? While he's no longer here to I guess to defend her or speak up for her, whatever. That was just a weird way.
Yeah.
I told you, still Knowledge was just different, homie. Like, to me, that didn't make sense.
Nah, but a dude gonna feel that way. A dude is gonna feel that way if his brother is recently deceased. If he gonna feel like if she gonna do whoever she mess with, it better be somebody outside of Tompkins, and I don't want to see it. That's how you gonna feel. Like, you feel what I'm saying? But she is a grown woman, and she does have a right to mess with whoever she want to mess with, but it's at your own risk in the hood.
See, that's why I fuck with you, lad, and that's why I fuck with you like heavy on these story tips, because your insight and your input be on point, bro, because what you just said was exactly word for word what Knowledge B told me out his mouth when I approached him about the situation. His exact words were, she can't fuck with nobody from Tompkins, and if she do, I bet not see it, and I don't want to see it. That's crazy, bro. That shit is crazy. So listen, so, okay, I heard my brother, and so I approached, you know what I mean? So I know I got to approach this delicately, because I know how Knowledge is about his brother. I know how he is about Cupcake, and I know he's a cannon, meaning loose cannon. The wrong words, they'll trigger him. I don't want to say something wrong and make it seem like the dude Tracy was going behind his back and trying to get some. So I had to politically play that correct, because if he felt that way, he would have wanted to go down him just because Knowledge felt like he was telling his business. Fuck you telling other niggas my business for. If I told you something that was between you and me, what you going to these other dudes trying to get me. So that's how he was. So I had to like really walk this ticking time bomb through the situation. So I went to his grandma's crib, and I sat him down, me and him in the room, and I sat him down, and we started talking. So boom, I'm gonna keep it a beat. I kind of like tricked him a little bit. I talked about other shit that didn't have nothing to do with that, and you know what I mean, got him to hype a little bit, and then got him to relax a little bit, and then almost like a fucking one of the prosecutors or defense lawyers when they got you on the stand. And then I slipped the hard questions under his belt when he was like not prepared for. So I was like, yeah, boy, so what's this I hear about like Tracy and shit? And as soon as I mentioned Tracy, I saw the look on his face, bro. And the way, I know my homie. And the look on his face was nothing nice. And because it's like I could almost see his thoughts like above his head, and everything from that look I saw in his eyes, in his face, and everything I saw above his head was nothing nice, nothing but violence. So I'm like, in my mind, like, all right, homie, tread lightly because it's about to get heated. So now we both sitting on the bed, and I'm sitting there, we face each other, and I'm talking to him. He's like, yeah, bro, this fucking dude, you know what I mean, disrespecting my brother, the death of my brother, and he's sneaking behind his back. So, again, I got it. I heard all that. I listened to him vent, and I let him get it all off his chest, whatever. And like I told you, a lot of times what worked with knowledge B coming from me was reason, because he wasn't an unintelligent dude. He was an intelligent dude. So if you could hit him with the right reasoning and logic, he would accept it. So I listened to everything he said. I didn't interrupt him. I stayed quiet, and then I started hitting him with the reason. Some of the reasons that I gave you, I said, okay, homie, let's say, for instance, all that's true, but look, homie, she's a grown woman. Like, so I started hitting him with all of that. And those grown men, I said, yo, at the end of the day, bro, I know you miss your brother. You love your brother. I miss your brother. I love them too. Cupcake misses him. She loved him too. But at the end of the day, bro, she's a woman with needs and desires, and she has to move on, bro. Don't be the dude that hinders somebody's progress because, you know what I mean, you caught up in your feelings, your emotions, bro. Because if that was your sister lovers, you would want her to be happy, wouldn't you? So this is how I know I was getting through to him, and I actually not getting through, that I got through to him, but it was still a volatile, dangerous situation because he started crying. And Knowledge B never cried unless he was about them. I told you, he was one of the dudes that before he put in work, he either did wild shit, push-ups, stretches, whatever, or cried if it was something that really bothered him, that really, really touched him. And when he cried, I already knew what the result was going to be after those tears. There was going to be bloodshed and disaster and mayhem. So in my mind, I'm like, damn, this nigga crying. I got to really, so I'm like, yo, listen, homie, listen. And then I brought him back to like, yo, you can't do that to son because, now I mean, that's my brother's best friend. So I had to make it see, and Knowledge B loved my brother. Everybody loved my brother Poise, like the way they loved, like I used to tell you stories about Tata Marshall, the way dudes love Tata down in his hood, same way as my brother Poise. Everybody loved my brother Poise. So when I kind of mentioned Poise to the dude Knowledge B, that kind of softened his heart a little bit, and I seen it in his eyes. I seen the, you know what I mean, some of the frustration and some of the anger and some of the fire diminish. And I was like, yo, bro, like, you know what I mean, that would break my little brother's heart. And if you say you love my little brother, then you shouldn't want to do anything that would break his heart, because we all a family. So like I said, he really crying and shit, he breaking down and whatever, and he was like, you know, so we laughing afterwards. He like, yeah, Nas, man, you got a slick way with words and shit. And then he told me, he's like, yo, so I was really going, you know, he said, I was, you know, he told me how he was, you know, gonna go about it and what he was gonna do. And I was like, nah, bro, like all of that, nah, man. At the end of the day, you can't do that because whatever. So this is, let me explain to you how crazy this dude was too, Lance. So boom, I diffused the situation. I got it down to an understanding where he wasn't gonna do nothing to him. But him being him, Knowledge B being Knowledge B, he gave me an ultimatum, and the ultimatum, I guess, was for me to take that back to Tracy and let him know, because I guess by this point he figured out that Tracy might have had a hand in me coming to talk to him. So he said, all right, homie, I'm going to do that for you, and I'm not going to do, you know what I mean, what I planned on. But this is what it is, and this is how it's got to go down. I'll bet not see them outside in projects publicly talking to each other, nothing. They can't be outside holding hands. They can't be talking too close to each other. They can't be kissing, none of that. Because if they do, then all bets is off, and I'm doing what I'm doing. So in my mind, I'm like, man, how the fuck I supposed to, like, how you can't? But that was it, and there was no more talking and no more negotiating. Those was his terms, and he was standing on it, and there was nothing I could do to convince him outside of those list of demands and ultimatums that he gave us. So I'm like, all right, cool, my name, I got it, you got it, whatever. I'm gonna go holler. You know what I mean, at Tracy. So first I went and talked to my brother, and of course my brother being an influencer, and now he like, yo, what you mean, bro? They sound crazy. How you gonna tell them how to? I said, yo, listen, homie. Like, I had to get a little firm. My brother like, yo, bro, homie, listen. That's it. There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else I can negotiate. If it's not like that, that boy gonna do what he do, and that's it. You don't. How you gonna ask me to do something, and then when I say okay and get it done and come back with some agreeable terms, you shoot down the terms that a motherfucker said, all right, he'll lay off, push his nigga shit back, but this is what I want. And then you're gonna be like, wanting to fight me back on that? I'm like, nah, bro. Tell that, the matter of fact, I'm gonna go tell Tracy. So I went and found, I don't know where the fuck I went, if I went to his grandmother's crib or if I went to Tracy and found him in the streets or whatever, but because he was laying low because, you know, boy was on his ass. But I went and found him, and I told him the terms. I said, yo, listen, homie, not for nothing. I don't care. It's not my business. I don't care who you sleep with, who you fucking, whatever. But at the end of the day, you already know how the homie is. That's my man. He feel a particular way about it. But, you know what I mean? And my brother told me what you said, and I went and spoke to my man, and my man is willing to call everything off and leave it alone, but this is what he wants. He don't want to see it with his own eyes. I'm like, I told him a little bit about everything out the public shit, but I was like, yo, forego all of that, because he's never, it's not like he's going to be everywhere, but just give him that respect where you don't let him see it. You know what I mean, homie? Because if you don't let him see it, then, you know, it's not going to bother him. But if he sees it, then he gonna have a problem with it. And the funny thing is, moving forward, I don't know, like after that conversation, after I spoke with Tracy and I told him that, and Tracy agreed, he was like, all right, cool. And he was, you know, very, you know, appreciative. That's what I like about Tracy, homie. He was an appreciative dude, and he respected it because he knew how dudes was playing. And he knew, you know, what dudes was capable of, because he's seen it with his own eyes, because he used to be around us. So he knew that was, I guess, a good compromise, and he was appreciative and thankful that I would even intervene for him, because he wasn't my man. We was cool, but he was my little brother's man. He was my little brother's best friend. Like, you know what I mean? And my little brother made the call and came to me and said, yo, homie, still might try to take the homie life. I need you to stop that. The strength of my little brother. I love my brother. I did that for my brother. But I respected and liked the fact that Tracy showed appreciation and gratitude for that whole situation. And here's the funny part about this whole situation, man. Like, you know, eventually moving on, like the homie Nosby, he got killed, whatever. I end up going to jail. I'm in jail. I did the long bid. While I'm doing that bid in prison, you know, Tracy Morgan, at that point too, when we was older, you know, playing with the Hammers and all that, he used to be uptown. I think it was in the Bronx. I'm not sure if he had family in the Bronx or whatever, but he was back and forth between wherever he was at, Manhattan and the Bronx, and Tompkins projects. So he was back and forth. So, and unbeknownst to me, I guess within that time frame and in that period is where I guess he might have found some of his funny. I guess, you know, that's his story to tell, where how he became funny, whatever. But he was always funny as a kid to us. But moving forward, when I was behind the wall, I think the first time I saw my homie, my bro Tracy, on TV, I think it was something like an Uptown Comedy Club. And I think they was ranking and having a ranking session. And I was like, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And I'm talking to dudes and shit. They like, yo, what up, homie? I'm like, yo, that's my man. Son from Tompkins Projects. That's my man. And I grew up with him. You know what I mean? I actually saved his life one time. That's my man. His name Tracy. And it's like, yeah, his name came across Tracy Morgan and shit. And from that point on, I started seeing his career blossom and bloom. And then I guess he got the little gig on Martin when he became Hustle Man, whatever. And then years later, homie, I came home from prison. All this what I'm telling you about was like in 85. Like, you know what I mean? 85, 84, 85, something like that. So I came home, I went to prison, and I came home in 96. This is how much of a solid dude Tracy Morgan. When I came home in 96, I was living in upstate New York, Monticello. Shout out to all my Monticello cats and shit that I was running with up there in Monticello back in 96 when I came home, 96, 97 and all that. I was up there living in Monticello and shit. my brother called me from down in New York, in Brooklyn, and was like, yo, boy, when you coming down to New York, when you coming to Brooklyn, dudes heard you home, dudes want to see you. I'm like, I don't know, I gotta, you know what I mean, see what this parole situation, whatever. Long story short, my brother was like, yo, Tata from Marcy keep asking about you. He said he want to see you. He heard you home, and Tracy Morgan want to see you. And so I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, you know, over the years, I'm talking to my brother about Tracy, whatever, and always sending him my love and regards from behind the wall, and he always sent his love and regards and concerns back. And this is facts. I came down to New York specifically to see them dudes. So I saw Tata on Troop Avenue and shit. Me and Tata had a long conversation, whatever. He welcomed me home. We talked, said we said, kept pushing. Then later on that evening, I got up with Tracy, and at this time, he was Tracy Morgan then. And, you know, he was doing his comedy clubs and, you know, doing his thing, televisions, movies, and the like. And we had a conversation. So he was taking us someplace. So we went somewhere uptown, and then we ended up coming back to Brooklyn. He had us in this bar. I think we went to Sugar Hill. Yeah, we was at, I think, this little shit on DeKalb Avenue. DeKalb, and I think on No Street, called Brown Sugar. Brown Sugar, I think it was, whatever the fuck. It's still there. Whatever. We was all there. We went there. We was drinking. We was eating. It was a great night and shit. And we was all leaving. And you know, Tracy was a little saucy. He was a little intoxicated. Everybody was a little buzzed. It was a nice night. You know, that was like my little welcome home. They took me out, and we was chopping up. And I'll never forget, I was getting in the car. I don't know who I was with, and I think I was with Unique from Marcy and shit, the homie Unique from Marcy. God bless his name. And we was leaving, and Tracy Morgan, brother, he got a younger brother, and his cousin, Love, his younger brother, and them ran over to my car before we pulled up, and was like, yo, Nas, get out the car, get out the car. I got out the car. I'm like, yo, what's up? He's like, yo, Tracy wants you. He want to talk to you. He's like, yo, don't let him leave. He made us come get you. So I'm like, what's up? So I go back over to Tracy and shit, and you know, and I'm talking, and I'm like, yo, homie, what's up? Everything good? So he pulled me to the side, and we walked up a little bit towards DeKalb Avenue, just me and him, and he was talking to me. We was hugging each other, talking. So he was a little intoxicated, but it wasn't no inebriation. He was of sound mind when he was saying the things that he said to me. And he said, what he said was like, yo, homie, and mind you, lads, this is like over 10, 11 years past that incident with Knowledge B and the girl Cupcake. He said, yo, homie, I never got a chance to say thank you and to let you know how much I love you and appreciate you for what you did for me back then, because if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't be here today, because homie was about his business, and the way he was creeping, it wouldn't have been but a matter of time before he eventually probably would have caught me and possibly, you know what I mean, put my lights out or whatever. And he was like, yo, if you ever need, and I, you know, I had to explain to him. I said, yo, listen, not for nothing, homie. You know, I didn't do it for the, you know what I mean, for the, you know, for who you are now or for anything like that, because who you are now is who you are, but you weren't as famous. You know what I mean? That didn't exist then. I did it on the strength of my brother loved you, and you know what I mean? You was his man, and I love my brother. So, you know, of course I would do that. But it really hit me, and I really felt that all of them years later, the homie still remembered that, and he still carried that love from that particular situation where he felt that I saved his life, and he held me in enough regard to tell me all of years later in my face how much he loved and appreciated me, and how much he wanted to thank me for that situation. And you know, like I said, like, you know, the homie Knowledge B, he's no longer here, but you know, Tracy's still alive and well and doing his thing, and we speak, you know, periodically from time to time. You know, people living their life, doing what they doing, but you know, that's the homie right there. And you know, I still love the homie, you know, as if we were still young kids running around with them kung fu gis and cracking jokes and hiding under the beds and fighting and all that. So to me, right, Laz, it's like it's hard to find comrades, right? That you started with from the sandbox, and your love and your bond and your friendship and your relationships remain as strong as they was when y'all was little kids. So you know what I mean. So for me, to all the little homies listening, bro, if you got a set of dudes, man, or some dudes that are really solid, and y'all have a really strong bond, a relationship, a friendship, don't let nothing come between that. Don't let women, don't let money, don't let incarceration, don't let feelings, don't let nothing come between that strong relationship and that bond that dudes build with their brothers, man, because you only get a few of those. I heard you only get like one or two true friends, a few true friends in your lifetime, lads. I don't know if that's actually a fact, but you know, in my opinion, that saying holds true in some lights, because I see it, bro. I got a handful of dudes that I came up with that I still love and cherish and fuck with, and I check for them to this very day, homie. Dudes that made it, that are still alive, and that aren't spending the rest of their lives in prison, homie. You get a few friends, man. You get a few friends in your lifetime, man, and you're supposed to hold on to those and cherish those. You know what I mean? And I'm proud to say that, you know what I mean, Tracy Morgan is someone that I consider a true and a dear friend. And you know what I mean, I got a lot of love for the officer. That's real talk.
That's real shit.
LAZ, man, I'm here with the Brooklyn legend and icon, Black Knowledge.
What's up? What up, homie?
From the Sumner series. You heard one of the craziest series we got on the channel. We just here to let you know it's crazy fire coming. You heard?
Yeah, I like the way that shit is moving, homie. It's doing some nice things. I'm getting a lot of feedback from a lot of people asking us to, you know what I mean, keep pushing that and continue doing that. So, you know, we got to get with it.
Yo, you said you was getting pressure from the streets?
I was, that's funny too, because I told you, homie, I was in, you know, school doing my educational shit, trying to, you know what I mean, continue to better myself, doing some things. And I was getting a lot of feedback like, yo, homie, what's up with the Summer series? Y'all, you and Laz gave up? Y'all quit? I'm like, nah, homie, we grown men at the end of the day with responsibilities and other things to do. But we gonna get back to it. I mean, this is what the streets is telling me, the homies, and they kind of like loving it. They like, yo, man, y'all two dudes, the way y'all feed off each other energy is positive. Dudes like it, because what I like about it when I listen back to some of the joints, it's not just me one-sided giving a version of events or talking. You and I, you know what I mean, we interchanging ideas and expressing different thoughts. So I think that's probably what the people feeding off of, you know what I mean? It's crazy. So I want to keep that energy going.
Yo, I was just talking to my bro Saquon earlier, and we was kind of diagnosing this whole thing. Like you said, we was like, yo, you know what we really into? You know why we really doing this? We into culture. This is culture. Like the whole Sumner series, all of these stories, even the jail stuff, we talking about street culture. And culture, the culture of a certain people or a certain demographic is always interesting. You feel what I'm saying? This is us. This is how we grow up. This is what we go through. 1 in 3 black men is going to the penitentiary. Statistically, 1 in 3 black men is going to the pen, whether you like it or not. That's just how the cards lay for us. You feel me? So all of these videos and stories we putting out is basically we just dealing with the culture of our people, man. You feel me? As gritty as it and gruesome as it may be sometimes, this is the culture of our people, man, and the culture of the streets.
Those are definitely facts. And for me, like, so feedback that I be getting be, sometimes it varies and shit. And some dudes be like, oh, well, damn, I hope, knowledge ain't gonna get up there with Laz, and they keep promoting all this negative. At the end of the day, homie, these are life experiences and life stories. So it's not bullshit. It's definitely not bullshit to me because I lived it and I went through it. So by me using Last platform to tell some of these stories and hopefully other people get something out of it, that's what behind the scenes I'm venting. He listening to me vent. He venting, and we expressing our life stories.
Yeah, I'm learning too. Like when I listen to these stories from iconic Brooklyn figures and stuff like that, I'm learning. I'm sitting there interested and learning about my borough, where I come from, and what shaped and molded it to what it is today. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm learning, and everybody is out there listening and learning. And your stories, you always dropping jewels, bro. If you read the comments on your stories, you got dudes out there that's like, these dudes want to be tutored by you. You feel me? Like, there's a lot of dudes in the streets and they in the street culture, but they don't really know who to look up to. You understand? They look up to the wrong individuals. They don't look up to the dudes with morals and principles and intelligence. Like, so when people hear these stories, it's shocking. It's another reason why I do this. It's shocking to those that are not from the streets to hear how intelligent some of the most notorious street names you ever heard in your life. When you hear them on my channel, I'm going to change your whole perspective. You're going to say, damn, like, the system is wrong. The system is wrong. Politics is wrong. Because there's no way in the world a black man should be that smart and still have to be in the streets to make a living. You understand what I'm saying? Or feel he needs to be in the streets to make a living. The system is heavily broken for us black people and people of color and people from the ghetto. So my channel, man, I take pride in this shit, man. You hear some of the most wildest names you ever heard, like this brother right here. That's one of the most iconic, notorious names in Brooklyn history. But when you hear him, you like, hold on, bro. This dude is teaching me things I never knew in my life. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what I get a kick out of with this channel, man. To break them stereotypes of all street dudes and criminals, we just dumb. You understand what I'm saying? Nah, bro. A lot of us was born intelligent, was straight A students in school, honor roll students in schools and all of that. And they went astray, man. You feel me? And ended up where they ended up.
So for me, homie, right? So what I want people to understand about this shit that we doing from my perspective, for me, right? If you go back to the introduction, when he first started the Black Knowledge series, the introduction, and when we were building in that introduction, I told Laz what my intentions were and what my plans were. And what I explained to him, I said, yo, we gonna talk about the nitty gritty. We gonna talk about the streets and all that, because that's where I came from. But we also gonna talk about those transitions that cats make from those that live to survive the shit that we've been through, transitions that they make. But what I want the people that listen to some of these stories to understand is that, yo, everything with me is a process. I like to do things in steps and stages. So right now, we still on the nitty gritty street shit. Give us a chance to get to all of the other positive stuff that some cats want to hear about. It's coming, because we got to start from where we from, homie.
I'm going to keep it real. Even your nitty gritty street shit be dumb deep though, bro. Like, so if dudes is really listening, you be dropping psychological jewels. Like, let me give you an example. That episode where you said, when I asked you, I said, yo, what made you, who taught you how to rep Sumner like that? And you said how your man went over there and pressed them dudes. Yo, my dude, don't be walking through here tough and all of that shit. This Sumner. Like, we dealing with the psychological aspects of how your role model's young.
You pay attention to the stories too.
Facts, bro. Facts. This shit is deep.
Pay attention to the stories.
We get if students are out there, if you're a student out there studying criminal law and criminal psychology, this is gold. The type of shit dudes is dropping. You feel me? Like, bro, when you're a child, you're very impressionable. So the same way somebody could show you something positive, somebody could show you something negative, and it make an impression on you for the rest of your life. And it's like, yo, bro, I grew up in a hood.
in Brownsville, Howard, they call my projects Barcelona. The reason why they call my projects Barcelona is because in 1992, the Olympics was in Barcelona.
That's a fact.
And my projects was tired of being the projects in the Ville that people felt comfortable coming through and chilling and talking to girls. And we put an end to that in 92. Niggas said, for now on, we gonna call this project Barcelona. My point that I'm making is niggas was chasing everybody out of Howard. And it was looking like the Olympics out there in 1992. So they started calling it Barcelona. Because you would be running, jumping, high jumping, and pole vaulting out the projects if you wasn't from out there. But in my young, impressionable mind, it put a territorial thing in me that even to this day, I could go back to my mom's old building in her projects. I see somebody in front of the building I don't know, and I'll be like, the fuck is this nigga in front of my building? And I don't even live there no more. But I was put, that territorial project shit was installed in me when I was young. Like, yo, look, no, if you ain't from out here, don't be out here. You feel me? So I'm damn near 50 years old. I come strolling out my mom's building, I see a strange face, I be like, niggas is too comfortable out here just hanging in front of my building like this. Nigga, I ain't lived there in 10 years. That's the shit we be learning in these streets, and it stay with us forever, man.
And I mean, that's a fact, bro. And so my objective, right, in some shape, form, or fashion, bro, continue to educate dudes and give it to people from the perspective of dudes like myself that would have never done an internet series or a YouTube series. I've never thought of myself or looked at myself as an internet dude. My peoples that I came up with running around in these streets and that still be, you know what I mean, active or whatever. These are things we never thought we would do, but they reach out to me and say, yo, Knowledge, homie, I would have never pegged you to be one of them type of dudes, but I like the way you bring in a different type of integrity to this shit, homie, because you speaking a different type of message, even though you might be talking your stories or whatever, but the way you doing it and the respect you giving to everybody, ops included, is how it's needed, because dudes respect you and they want to hear what you have to say. So I feel like a lot of times messages will be more receptive to individuals, or they would be more receptive of some of these messages if they were hearing it from people that, you know, were in some shape or form relegated or held in a certain regard, and people respect it, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Because I'm always going to take heed to somebody that I respect, or somebody that I know that went through the same similar type of shit that I went through and was able to make it out. That's what it is for me, homie. Because how the fuck did y'all make it out? How did y'all become successful and able to transition and change your life over from all of that wild, negative shit that y'all was doing to the positive individuals that they become today? I don't know. Is that how politicians are formed, homie? They started in the trenches and were working for the people so much that they elevated to a different status, and now they're working for the people again to try to bring them out of that state of darkness and all that and despair that they're in. I don't know where this shit going, homie, but I'ma just keep, because the streets is asking for it, so I'ma just keep, you know, putting that love out there and that information that I have to younger brothers like Laz and cats like him that's receptive to it and want to hear it, homie.
That's a fact, bro. It's like you put a level of class with this street shit. It's putting a level of class to this shit where it's cleaning up the stereotypes of everybody in the streets just being a bunch of savages. You understand? It's stories and circumstances behind people's reputations of who they became. Because some dudes nobody even thought they was gonna become killers, and they did. You feel what I'm saying? So this shit is deep, man, and we gonna be bringing y'all a whole lot more fire. You heard? This is just a taste. Know what I mean? But shout out to the bro Black Knowledge. Shout out to Sumner, one of the most notorious housing projects in New York City. But shout out to the whole Bed-Stuy, the whole Brooklyn, man. We doing it. You heard?
Shout out to the homie Laz for opening up his platform so that we could do this. You know what I mean? So it goes both ways, homie.
It's a fact. This is our platform, the streets platform. You heard?